Hello, welcome to Wesley Impact. I'm Keith Garner. I wonder if you've retired or when you're going to retire, what you'd like to be your legacy. Welcome to Wesley Impact, and thank you for joining us today. At Wesley Mission, we have a special service every year when we recognise significant service from members of our team. Some are 5 and 10 years, even 20, and some as long as 30 and 40 in recent years. Wesley Mission is a place where people can serve, build a career, change their role in the community service, and align a Christian faith with meaningful employment. Today I'll be speaking with a chaplain who's been working with Wesley Mission for the past 15 years and has just recently retired. Now, of course, once you serve with Wesley Mission, there's a sense in which you never really leave because you've got that commitment to what it is we're about. You're always part of a family, and for people of faith and purpose, you don't really retire. You simply go on to whatever it is that God has in store for you next. Don Walker's been working with Wesley Mission in our congregational life as a chaplain for 15 years. And over that time, he's seen many different people come and go. He's served the community with a passion for the lost, the broken and the homeless. I'm looking forward to speaking with Don later. Also, we'll be hearing from friends of mine from South Australia, the Borderers. Jim and Alex Peterson will be joining us to sing an original song of theirs, In You Our Faith is Revived. And I'll be dipping once again into John's Gospel, this time into chapter 10, which tends to indicate that there was a good deal of disagreement about the true identity of Jesus. The issue is made clear because people wanted him to declare publicly who he was. They asked the question, that's the Jews that were in the crowd, how long will you keep us in suspense? If you're the Messiah, tell us plainly. Jesus responds that he not only told them, but his works confirm just who he is. Today is the final episode of a short series where we're looking at homelessness. First, I spoke with Philip Hartog, who showed us an innovative way in which he is using his influence to help raise funds to support our work. Then last week, I spoke with Alwyn Chong, a member of our congregational life, who's a local restaurateur in downtown Sydney, who's using excess food from his restaurant to help feed and come alongside the homeless. It's a remarkable story. Alwyn's even got to the stage where he's got people working with him on the streets who are actually people he once helped. And today I'll be speaking with Don Walker. More about Don in a moment, but first, let's look at one of the people who we've helped through our work. This is Lellah's story.
Hi, my name is Lellah Wolf, and this is my story. When we first arrived in Australia, I never thought in my life that one day we will have no place to live. In 2011, we were running out of our lease. At the time, the landlord was wanting extras on top of what we were paying. We've been in that place for 5 years. We were looking for houses for 6 months. We also had 7 children at the time. It makes it so difficult to find a rental place. My husband then became very ill. He has muscular dystrophy disorders. It was one stage that I was away for 3 days from work and couldn't complete what I needed to submit. So hence the reason why I had to step down and take care of my family. At the time I was feeling anxious and not knowing where to go. It was just too difficult for me. We heard about Wesley Mission through a friend of ours that used to live across the road, and she just told me about this place where people could go and have a bed. And then I phoned up and found out that this is what they do.
Here at Wesley Mission Noreen Towers, we have 23 3-bedroom units. The key there is that it is for families, so we're unique. We do a range of parenting groups. We do informational workshops so that parents get some skills to help them to get back into the community. We also do a lot of programs for the children. Lellah and her family first came to Wesley Mission. They'd been doing really well and then due to a whole range of things, their family found themselves homeless. I'm looking forward to seeing her and hearing the next phase of her story and how her hubby is doing, because he was so unwell.
The staff at Wesley Mission were incredible. They were very friendly, compassionate. They were so welcoming. When we walked in, I had a sense of relief. For me and my family, it was haven. It was security. I was safe knowing that my kids had a bed. My kids had a place to live in. My main priority was the safety of my family. Life for our family now, it's great, it's stable. Unfortunately, my husband couldn't be here. He's still recuperating, and we're now living in a wonderful 6-bedroom home. We've got wonderful children. We've got a great church that we go to. So everything is working well for us. So praise God for that. Easter message for me is celebrating and remembering the resurrection of our beloved Jesus. It's hope for the hopeless. I'm sure if I didn't have faith, I wouldn't have made it through. I think there's a great future ahead of me and my family, you know, and I know it's going to be a brighter future because God is always good. I would just like to say to Wesley Mission, thank you for the opportunity given to our family. And it's awesome that Noreen Towers is available. It's a wonderful place. It's great work that they're doing. And all praise to God that they're able to provide that for our community.
The Sports United fundraising lunch is now in its 7th year. Sports stars, table sponsors and other donors meet over a first-class lunch held at the Heritage Royal Automobile Club of Australia. All funds raised go towards Wesley Mission's homelessness services. It's a great opportunity to showcase your organisation's corporate social responsibility. For more information, call 02 9263 5555 or visit wesleymission.org.au.
Now, if you'll be in Sydney in May and you're able to attend Sports United, we'd love to see you there. More information is available on the website, wesleymission.org.au. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'll be speaking to Don Walker. Don has served as part of our chaplaincy team at Wesley Mission for the past 15 years. Has made the decision now to retire from that role. Retire in the sense of retiring from paid work, but isn't necessarily giving up his concern for the gospel and for caring for people. When you're a person of faith, that's always important. Welcome, Don. It's nice to talk to you. Don, you've been working for 15 years at Wesley Mission, which is not an insignificant period of our lives when you put it together. And I know that you will have come and seen hundreds of people's lives affected by the work that we do. Now that you're stepping down as a chaplain, having worked in that place, how did your journey begin at Wesley Mission?
Well, I'd been serving overseas in the country of Liberia with an international mission. And because of the civil war there, we came home to Australia, and I got involved in the sort of ministry of going out to different churches and telling people the needs over in Africa, the various countries, as well as South America and Asia. And I was feeling a little bit, it's time to take a break. So I told my wife, I'll take 12 months off. And at the time, she was looking for a job for my son in the paper, and came across this little ad in the paper which said they needed someone at Edward Eager Lodge, the homeless hostel run by Wesley Mission, for an administrative assistant. And as I had, in my background in the police force, done secretarial work to superintendents and things like that, as well as when I come back from Africa, I did a business administration course. So I said, I might as well apply for it. And I got the job and started at Edward Eager Lodge. And then, as I did that, the Olympics came along in the year 2000. I was asked if Wesley Mission had got a contract to do some homeless work at Yagoon or in a boarding house there. So that boarding house became part of Wesley Mission, and I helped to, I was actually running that for a while. And so that built up, and then I was asked if I could become full-time, so I did. And
so this part-time job became a full-time?
Yeah, my part-time job became full-time. I always believe God uses what you've done in the past to prepare you for future ministry. And then a little while later, I moved on into chaplaincy.
In this particular area at Wesley Mission, have you got people in your mind, particularly that you've been able to help, or we've been able to help as a mission? And you say, they're people, and that story will be one that will live with me for a long time.
Yes, we have a number of people who come through. Sometimes it's like a revolving door. You see them 1 year and you don't see them for a couple of years. But there was one couple that came along whose whose child had only been born with half a heart, and so they were both living at Edward Lodge at the time. But because they weren't a married couple at the time, they had to live on different floors. The child was born, they knew the child was going to be very sick, but they said they wanted to trust God through this. They didn't want to take the child's life, they wanted to give the child a fighting chance. And the child was born, the child did die, and I was privileged enough to take the funeral and to have some long-lasting influence in their lives. And they've now had a little girl who's about 3 years old now, and it's lovely to think back on that in that position I was able to help them by going to Westmead Hospital and just being on that journey with them, a journey of faith caused by difficulties.
And the great thing is that many people who are homeless are just like any other person. They need support and help. Yeah. Tell us what motivates you in the work.
When I was first interviewed as to whether I would go into the chaplaincy role, I was asked a question about what makes you feel that you're called by God to work amongst the homeless. And I said, I don't feel I am. I'm called to work with people. And I think that's what Jesus did. We don't read about Jesus standing on any high pulpit or anything. He got down. He was actually called a drunkard and a glutton because he sat around with people around meals, getting to know them. And I think that's one reason why that the religious leaders were drawn to Jesus. They knew he had the truth. So he sat amongst the people.
So that's important for you. Then finally, importantly, what sustains you?
I think what sustains me is the sense of my own personal faith, but seeing that God can use me in all sorts of different circumstances, whether in my private life or particularly with my life within Wesley Mission, getting alongside people and accepting them for who they are, their status in life or their situation in life, just being there and being a listening ear and not bring them into my own world, but rather listening to their world.
Don, hang around with us till the end of the show, if you will. Thank you so much for your time at Wesley Mission. We want to wish you well for whatever the future holds. I know some of it is going back to Africa. I know some of it is going to be catching up with friends. Today's conversation is a small testament to the impression and impact you've made upon people. Joining us now are two friends of mine, Jim and Alex from the Borderers, to sing an original song, In You Our Faith is Revived.
There's a band of thieves who roam in the streets. Their hearts are black with deceit and desire. Soon our God will reveal what they're trying to conceal. They're stealing souls, stealing minds, stealing lives. In your power we seek a way to strengthen the weak, make us strong like steel inside. When the darkness descends, your love transcends. Know that our faith is revived. So we'll pitch our tent in this land of hope. Wanna have Jesus by our side. He'll pitch us when we're lost and broke, 'cause in Him our faith is revived. Our faith is revived. Try to do what you've taught of the poor, the lost and deprived. So I'll soldier on. I must rise and be strong in your strength, in your hope, in your light. Lead me safe from harm as I walk through the storm. Father, be my guide. Whenever darkness descends, your love transcends. Know that our faith is revived. So we'll pitch a tent in this land of hope. Wanna have Jesus by our side. He'll fix us when we're lost and broke. 'Cause in Him our faith is revived. In your strength and your might, we will fight the good fight. 'Cause in you we belong as we praise you in songs. Lord, your honesty, how it winds and it weaves, lights our soul like the warmth of a fire. If we taste the bad seed, spit it out, let it bleed. You know that our faith is revived. Yes, you know that our faith is revived. In you, our faith will be revived. In you, our faith will be revived. In you, our faith will be revived. In you, our faith has been revived.
It's been 200 years since the first Methodists met in Australia. To celebrate 2 centuries of faith and pioneering care, CEO and presenter Reverend Dr. Keith Garner takes us back to where it all began.
But we don't begin here at the heart of London. We begin in a town in the north of England.
In this fascinating narrative, Reverend Garner chronicles the history of the life and times of the founder of Methodism, John Wesley. This fresh and thought-provoking documentary takes us on a journey throughout the United Kingdom, beginning in John Wesley's hometown of Epworth.
John Wesley was born here on the 17th of June, 1703.
This 1-hour DVD travels onto his education years and beginnings of social justice in Oxford, to his final years in London. For more information on John Wesley, the man and his mission, call 02 9263 5555 or email us at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au.
So there it is, the DVD. It's really worth getting hold of, not just because I'm on it, but because there's a lot of very interesting people that we talk to that give us an insight into some of that early work. As in my interview today, anyone who works for God will find people asking questions about what their purpose is. I'm sure that happened to Don. It certainly happens to me. It's the kind of thing that occurs. Now, Jesus is walking in the temple courts in winter. It's one of the only times when we really have a time of the year that we can quite clearly identify. Having been to Israel, Palestine in the winter, I know it can be cold there. And people wanted to ask questions about him. So I'm going to read to you, if I can, from John 10, 27 through to 29. John 10, 27 through 29. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. And I and the Father are one. Now, it's important to recognise that the reaction to Jesus was a very, very powerful one. People were after these words, this is what we read. Again, his Jewish opponents picked up stones to stone him. Now, this wasn't the first time that had happened. You remember when he went back to Nazareth, where he'd been brought up and they talked about him. There were those people ready to stone him there. Stoning is a dreadful thing to do. I never really have understood anyone who wants to harm people physically in a response to something, but stoning particularly raises all kinds of issues. They wanted to stone him. They wanted to say he's making claims about himself that are improper. And his response was designed to draw out their reason for doing so, because he goes on to say, I've shown you many good works from the Father. For which of these do you stone me? I mean, gosh, how could they stone Jesus for things that he did? There's nothing he ever did or said that should ever lead anybody to stone him, even in the context of the laws of that day. And his response draws out the fact that Jesus is displaying who he is by what he does. Now, we understand that at Wesley Mission because we talk about word and deed. We think a way in which the Jesus way, the gospel way, is demonstrated is not only by the words we say, but it is by the actions that we display, by the works that we show. And Jesus identified as people believed in him. You read in verse 42 in the passage that follows, it kind of draws it all to a close, and it says, and in that place many believed in Jesus. So as they were going to stone him, as they were going to accuse him, so it was that people started to believe in him. Believe in him because of not just the words he said, but as we've said, the things that he did. There must have been many in that crowd that had seen him touch those who were untouchable, reach out to some that would have been thought of as unreachable, those who were pushed to the margins. Jesus found time for him. There is a real sense in which people who really would have been cast aside find a real home in Jesus. That, for me, is a major inspiration of what I try to do in my own work. I love the fact that in Wesley Mission, not only in our work with the homeless, but in so many different areas of work, we're able to come alongside, not over and above, alongside people to walk with them on their journey, if you like, to empower them to be able to live life to the full. And the way to really understand is through trust and following him. And that's what Jesus really does. Jesus was well aware that there were those who were enemies both of him and of what he's about, and those who would follow. Just as then, God's people recognize that they live in a dangerous world where many prey on the weak and the vulnerable. Staying close to Jesus is a clue for all of us if we're going to understand and those things that are his purpose and withstand those things that would snatch us away from his purpose. And remember, he says nothing can snatch them out of my hand. I find that enormously encouraging for me, and I hope for those who follow. Maybe for you to know that today you can find yourself at the heart of God's purposes.
If you would like to contact Keith and find out more about today's program, write to us at Wesley Mission, Post Office Box A5555, Sydney South 1235. Or you can send an email to impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. On our website, you can catch up on past episodes of Wesley Impact, find out more about our work, read online magazines and articles, and connect with us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also connect to Keith's blog and stay up to date on all of the latest news and information from Wesley Mission. wesleymission.org.au.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's a great joy to know there are people who join us every week, those who write to us and keep in touch with us. That's a real pleasure to have that contact. I hope you've enjoyed the show in many different ways, enjoyed the conversation with Don. Now, Don, just before you leave, if someone was sharing in our conversation, what's the one thing you would say to them about their calling? If it was to work alongside the needy, the disadvantaged, whatever term we want to use, if somebody has a call in that area, what would you say to them?
Well, I think everyone has a call. We can't say I'm not called. And I think in the book of Corinthians, the Apostle Paul says, who's adequate for these things? And the answer comes down a few verses later, and is that God makes us competent. God makes us adequate. And I feel that that's the way God's led me in life.
And if it's somebody going to work in that area, is there one thing you'd say that you ought to be aware of this? What would you say to them?
That the person is just like you, only in their circumstances a little bit different, but accept them as you would want yourself accepted, because that's what Jesus told us.
Thank you, Don. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. And all of us, as Don, I'm sure, has reminded us, all of us are just one step away from a place that may be a very difficult place. And so we don't stand above people, we come alongside them. Now, if you want to watch this or past episodes of Wesley Impact, we've got tons of them available. And the last few episodes of this short series on homelessness in particular is available if you go to our website at wesleymission.org.au. And you can email me at impacttv@wesleymission.org.au. I always look forward to receiving emails. So if you have a thought or you have a question you'd like to ask about the Christian faith or any area of Wesley Mission, then please do feel free to email me. Thank you for joining us today, and please do join us again next week. Become a regular on Wesley Impact viewing. Thank you, and may God bless you in the coming days.
Wesley Mission helps more than 2,400 people each year through Wesley Homeless Services. To find out more, visit wesleymission.org.au.